We're being recorded, I guess. I'm sure he's just testing. But anyway, so Donna, how are you? What's going on?
Oh, doing great.
Raise your hand, and I think everybody remembers how to do that. So for sure, we're going to do it that way. And then let me see here. We're going to go now to the next here. And this is kind of how this session's going to work. First of all, I want to say hi to Jen Polakowski. She is the Deputy Director of the RWJI, NJI, our nursing initiative here. She's from the Congress Foundation there in New Jersey. And she's taking some of the roles that Lynn Mertz played with us. And Lynn is doing some freelance work while she's still in Turkey, but we've been able to be in contact with her, so our community stays connected here. But we're going to start first with a little bit of information from Emily Hand, who is the manager of a community manager at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and she's going to talk about the Granty Network, and I'll toss the ball to her in just a second. And then Carolyn Hart and I are going to then do the main session here, which is about choosing and using advisors, mentors, and coaches. So I'm going to say at this time, Papa, if you could give the ball to Emily, and Emily, welcome.
Hi, everyone. So let me share my screen. Desktop. Okay, and can you see my screen?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Okay.
This looks great.
Okay, so I would assume everyone else can too. So the RWJF Granty Network is for anyone who's in a human capital portfolio program, which includes you guys. The website is in the slideshow, but it's HC Granty Network at hcgrantynetwork.rwjf.org, and this is the screen that'll bring you to when you type in that URL. So if you click enter here, this next screen will ask you to log in, and then once you put in login information, you'll appear, and this is the page of the Granty Network. I know since I'm an administrator, I have a few more options than you guys will have. Like in my actions, it's going to look a little different, but for the most part, the home page is going to look exactly the same when you guys log in. So there's just a little one message. We have a member spotlight that we switch out every 2 weeks, and I try to rotate through the different programs, so I'd love to feature you guys in the next few weeks as well. Right now I have a clinical scholar up. We have Human Capital Granty Communications Toolkit, which is a resource. But everything on the home page of the Granty Network gets switched out every so often so that we have fresh content for you to come back and see. So if I down, you can see my fellow community manager, Natalia Barrelin, who also manages the network. To the left, you'll see we have a poll that we switch out every once in a while. And then you can what people are talking about section and the blog and human capital events. So it's just a good overview of everything that's on the network. So to get started, you'll see up here in the upper right corner, I'm logged in. So if you click on your name there, once you're logged in, you'll add your profile. So I've set my profile, I've added a picture, and how you do that, it's a seamless process. You just go to the right-hand corner and you can change your photo, edit your profile, and you can choose what people can see on your profile. For example, if you don't want everyone to see your phone number, you can choose that. And you can also manage email notifications, which means that you can get email sent to you every time someone posts anything to the Granty Network, or any time a specific person posts something, or any time someone posts the blog. It's totally customizable, because I know we all get bombarded with email, but that can really be a helpful tool to keep up to date with the things that you actually care about. So this profile looks a bit different than grantee profiles would look. I'm going to show you one from a careers in nursing scholar. A little trouble with his photo sideways, but I did want to show his profile anyway because he filled it out really nicely. He put a brief biography, his expertise, his career stage, his experience, and that stuff is really helpful helpful is because if you go to the members tab where you can view all of the members who are a part of the grantee network, you can actually search by things like that. So if you're looking for someone who is in educations, marketing, and media, you can click that, and it's going to filter out anyone who's filled that in their profile. And for everyone fills out their profile as much as they could. So that's something I really encourage you to do once you get on there, because it's just more beneficial to yourself and to everyone else in terms of finding people to connect with and collaborate with. I would like to just mention that I'm always available to help. I really think this is a great platform for people to connect on, and if people have any trouble getting on it or posting something or have questions, I'm always here to help via phone or email, which is in the slide deck. But there's also this tab, Grantee Network Help. There are just a few documents that might be helpful if you're having issues, like uploading a photo to your profile. They get a step-by-step list of how to do so. To briefly just go through the types of content on the Grantee Network, there's a discussion board. So you have the ability to start a discussion if you'd like to, or you can comment on a discussion that's already there. You don't have to get anything approved ahead of time. I mean, this is it's a closed social media network. So the only people on here are RUJF grantees, RUJF staff, and your program office staff. So those are the only people who can see stuff here. So don't feel like your privacy is going down the tube, for lack of a better word. And you have resources here. You can post a resource if you like, or you can one of the resources that's already there. For the most part, Heather Kelly Thompson's been posting a lot of resources, which might be helpful for you guys since they're mostly nursing related. But you can put up anything you think that other RWJF grantees would be interested in. And then we have I just got kicked out. Sorry about that.
No, while you're doing that, it looks like there's some really interesting, I saw seminars there that pertain to things we talk about, so this is going to be great.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of great stuff on here. So I'm back in, and I'm at the blog now. I'm not kicked out. Maybe it's because I've been logged in for too long. But, you can see Mark Hall is an investigator. He posted some information about it was a focus group room kind of thing that he wanted to promote to fellow grantees. Some new stuff every so often. Jamila Misher is a scholar in health policy research. She wrote about her experiences writing a book. You have to get permission from anyone to post here. It's really easy. All you do is go over here to the right hand and click write a post, and you can write about anything you want. I treat this like any other social media platform where you can share ideas, articles, information on your work. If you are posting to rwjf.org publicly, you can be a little controversial if you want to. Obviously follow common etiquette and courtesy, but you can talk about more controversial issues if you'd like to and start a discussion with fellow grantees in the human capital portfolio. And then I went through discussions. And then polls is me, Allie, and Larry, who we haven't done a lot of polls recently, but Larry used to be the manager like a year ago. But there are a few polls. I'm hoping to post a new one this week. So it just kind of allows people to post their points, and you can comment on it if you'd like to. So that's much it in terms of what we on here already. We also promote certain webinars and chats that are closed to only people who are on the Human Capital Grantee Network. For example, at the end of July, we had not the end of July, mid-July, in reference to the end of June ACA decision. We had a huge chat of, I think it was like 60 people attended, and John Lumpkin at the foundation was a panelist, and we had a health policy fellow, and Sue Hass-Miller. These were all panelists, and people attending the webinar could ask questions, and the panelists would respond. So it was an opportunity, and we like to have webinars every few months, and I'm planning one for October. That's not set in stone yet, but really excited about it and hoping I can put out some more information about it soon. That's it from me. I don't know if I can answer any questions from anyone.
Okay, and we probably should pop back to the screen if people are raising their hand, and we'll know who to call. So, can you put us back to the slide set? Yeah, okay, it looks like I'm now the presenter here, and I'm going to put up here Ellie's contact information, and I'm going to scan down here. So if any of you have questions, raise your hand or pop them into the discussion forum here for us. Emily, I don't see any hands raised right there, but I will say to everybody and everybody that's listening to this, it's an archive, there's the information to contact Emily. So if you do have questions, feel free to follow up with her.
Definitely follow up with me with any questions you have. I'm more than happy to walk you through anything or just talk about how you can get more involved. So thanks for listening. I'm going to hop off now, okay, Diane?
Yes, that's great, and thanks for being with us. And gosh, guys, this sounds like a fabulous networking opportunity. I heard there is seeing your profile out there is going to be enormously helpful and some great networking opportunities. And just like any time you put a profile up, you're really marketing yourself. So think about how you want your colleagues to see you, and how if what you're on is something that they're working on, that they would then be inclined to catch up with you. So get that profile in there and do a good job with that. And then, I just, in the quick skim through there, I see a lot of things I would love to know about. So it looks like it's going to be very helpful on many levels for you, particularly those of you that are beginning to do your risk now, and those of you that are, this will be open to everybody who has been a part of the collaborative learning community. So all alumni, all of the PIs, mentors, everybody's welcome to log into there. So there's that. So now we're ready to talk about the topic at hand here. We're going to be talking about choosing and using advice, mentors, and coaches. And, this is kind of a timely topic. Probably most of the people here are, and some of you are, getting ready to go out into new positions, and having a mentor or a coach it will make transition so much easier for you. So we really want to give you some tips, and it's my privilege to introduce you to Dr. Carolyn Hart. She's going to co-present with me, and she is a participant in Sigma Theta Tau's Mentored Faculty Leadership Development Institute. And I'm mentor for Carolyn, and Carolyn is a mentee, but she also is a rather recent grad from a doctoral program and has worked with academic advisors and dissertation advisors, and she's probably been in a mentor role herself. So between the two of us, we've had some experience with the topic, and we're really happy to share. I'll do a little profile here on Carolyn too. She's our dissertation topic on persistence on courses. That's probably how she and I got kind of connected, because that's my area of research too. And as we'll see, the session folds, one of the things that really helps make a mentor-mentee relationship work is some kind of a common bond or common interest. So that's one of the ways that we got started in this program. She's been the recipient of some grants. She's already published. I guess another reason why I invited Carolyn to be with you is because she is another great role model of someone who's probably just a year out of her program, but you can see she's already taking next steps for leadership development through this Sigma Tau program. She already has one publication under her belt and 2 or 3 more in the hopper. She's doing project that's not related to academic progression, and we've all talked about, we've had our sessions on that, so you know what a timely topic it is. So you can see what it's like for someone who's now just about a year out of a doctoral program, and she's well on her way to becoming established. Okay, so say to Carolyn, and here's what we'll be talking about. Probably the thing that's going to be the most important to everybody is we're going to try to talk about how to manage the mentoring, coaching, advising relationship, and we'll give you some tips, and we've kind of going to tap back and forth here talking. I'm going to be the one to advance the slides and kind of keep things going, but Carolyn's got the all the first-hand tips here for us. So let's go ahead and get started. In this little section, we're going to talk about just kind of defining what an advisor, mentor, and a coach is. So I'm going to start by talking about, advisor, and all have at least an academic advisor, and in some ways, both of these types of advisors, at least from your perspective, there are roles that are less required. You don't have any option about having either one of these people in your academic life. So in terms of having the academic advisor, that is going to help you be sure that you are getting everything completed in the course requirements and the program requirements. But I'm going to say that probably the most important person in that relationship is you, because you do have the responsibility to be sure that you are following the program plan and working with this person to on track and so on. So, and sometimes this academic advisor could be, be a faculty member, but it also can be a staff member. So all the more reason that you need to be the one that is making sure that your program plan comes together. But I think probably most of you are all on that page. But the next person who's going to be part of your life, if they are not already, is the dissertation advisor. And this is somebody that you will choose. I'm going to talk just a little bit more about that, but obviously they're the ones that are going to help you navigate through doing your dissertation, and you want to think through carefully who that person is and what reasons that you're thinking of selecting them to be your dissertation advisor, but we'll hold off on that. Okay, talk a little bit about the mentor, and this is the relationship here is a little different than the advisors. Your mentor, you're going to want to choose. Really, this is usually somebody who you are selecting. These are some tips or ideas of who you should be thinking about. Somebody that has been through some of the things that you're going through, and I like to think that you're picking. I'll pick somebody for myself who's just about one step ahead of me, so that they are recent memory of what it's like in the transit I'm trying to make. So, that would be one thought. But here's another: is that you want to be sure that you are getting somebody who is in a position to be able to help you. And the way that you can do this to be sure that you identified what kind of help you need. And one example where would come to mind is if you're on a tenure track and wanting to find out, what's the best way to position yourself to be tenured, is to ensure that you are, a mentor that has been through the tenure experience and, ideally has been on the promotion and tenure committee, so they can give you some tips. Same thing if you're interested in becoming a more active member in a nursing organization, to be sure that whoever you're selecting, maybe is a member of that organization and can make things happen for you. And I'm sure those of you that are doing research, you want to have a mentor that is going to be that coming off their desk is calls for research proposals, and that they can help connect you to that. So, be sure that you are picking somebody that's really can do some help. And part of the role here is that they're guiding you through these things. And again, the notion of opening the doors. And I was kind of thinking back today on I've had some wonderful mentors, and the one mentor that kind of came to mind was really connected at Sigma Theta Tau, and she saw a call for an award for excellence in teaching, and she put my name forth. And then when it went so far, she helped me then to know how to craft the application and put the dossier together. So I would say she was somebody who opened a door for me. And if I had not been in a relationship with her, then she wouldn't have known my needs, and she wouldn't have been able to help me. So those are some wonderful things that can happen when you have somebody who's in a position to help that way. And then, of course, you can watch for the tips and so on. And if you're going to, along the way, sometimes having somebody who can pick up the pieces and help you back up on your feet and going again, that's something a mentor can do too. So that's kind of a thought about a mentor, and we can have different kinds of mentors. The clinical mentor can help, and I'm thinking, particularly of those of you that are master's grads and are, making a transition into a clinical setting, and somebody who can help you navigate that would be helpful. Certainly, the research and teaching mentor are important, particularly as you're taking your first jobs in a track or a clinical track faculty position. And I've career mentor is Angela McBride, and she's always been helpful to me with the big picture of where my career is going. And she and I are still in contact. And I'll say the door she opened for me was to become a part of this faculty preparation program, because she knew at the foundation that we're looking at this program established. So that's the power of having any of these mentors. Carolyn and I are a good example. You don't have to be same school, the same building, the same town even, because Carolyn and I are in a mentoring relationship where we use Skype, we talk on the phone and
love emails.
Yes, absolutely. So, Carolyn, I think this comes up to you, or maybe it's me. I'll talk in here, and you can go ahead.
Either one. I think because we've both had such history with mentors, we're both comfortable talking about this. And the reasons why you would have a mentor are, as you can see on the screen, is it's a great way to really know more about where you're headed. And it's, as Diane said previously, by selecting somebody who's maybe run ahead of you, one step ahead of you, it's someone who can make you aware of things that you know about. If you remember back to nursing, you don't know what you don't know. Your mentor can watch out for that and help you. You're off to a good start, off to a solid start. So the reasons for having a mentor are to be successful faster, advance your career, and maybe be more successful at it than you would have been, because they can take some of the things out of learning things the hard way. And also having a mentor is just it gives you a great sense of support, and it's someone that you can go to when you're unsure of where you need to be headed. The mentor, in addition to providing support, have insights that you just don't have enough knowledge to come up with on your own. So having a mentor is just, I stress the importance of it.
Great, and I'm going to underline that too. I mean, that's why we're doing this session, because many of you have just recently made the leap into another position, and those of you that are the doctoral students, you're about ready to do that in the next year or few years. So having somebody positioned is, it's going to make things so much easier and your career progress so much faster. So some ideas of, when to have one, and again, we're trying to encourage you to be thinking about this now, because you're going to be working new organizations, and even if you end up teaching at the same where you are now a doctoral student or have taught before, your role is going to be different. So you want to be sure that you are, yourself, kind of reconfigured and taking advantage of your new degrees. So this is time. But having a mentor is really something that's life. Your mid-career, your late career, anytime that you're making transitions or where you're making trying to go for goals. And one little story that I sometimes tell talking about mentoring is I had a grandmother mentor. That was the age that I was at one point in time, and needed to have somebody who was one step ahead of me in this. And I was telling my sister I had a grandma mentor, and she said, "Well, for goodness sakes, what do you want one of those for?" Well, you can't have no idea how helpful this person was in helping avoid pitfalls. My daughter-in-law, what kind of toys, in toys, because she had just been through that. So having a mentor is kind of essential. So, Carolyn, how many of these should you have?
Many. You can't have too many. And I guarantee you that you've probably already had mentors in your life, especially because you're in a graduate education program, and at some point you would have made the decision to do that. And we all go through that angst of, qualified, can I do it? And I'm sure that you had a mentor, whether you realized it or not. You had somebody who encouraged you to go on and told you more about what it was like, what you could expect, and just helped you believe in yourself. And that was a very early mentor that you might have had. And I know I wouldn't have gone on for my PhD without those very beginning mentors that I had. As you move through a program, you then start working on your dissertation, and I know some of you are in the middle of that. And I've got my fingers crossed, and I'm really hoping that you're finding that your dissertation chair is also a mentor, because that person really has a huge impact on your professional career. And if they're a mentor, then they really are helping you succeed in just a way you almost think you could never pay back. And I know that was very true for myself. Once you are done with your dissertation, then you need a mentor in your career. And as mentioned, I'm part of Sigma's Nurse Faculty Leadership Program, and that was probably one of the best moves that I ever made, because having Diane as a mentor has just been so invaluable. And I thought when I graduated with my PhD, I had hit the height, and that was it with my career. And she just kind of very quietly led it and said, "No, you need to still continue to work on your career." And she's really been a great influence in mentoring me to do more with my career than maybe I had thought was possible. So how many mentors? You know what? You never have enough. And just as you keep moving and advancing in your career, you just can go through mentors. And I think that the underlying theme is the willingness to share knowledge and experience. And means that those of us who are mentees need to recognize that we can benefit immensely from our mentors. And a shortcut to us quickly gaining skills that we need to be successful in whatever career path that we choose. So how many mentors? As many as you want.
Okay. And you know what? I'm just going to stop here, because this business about mentor, we've covered a lot of information, and I'll open this up for questions or comments. And I see that there's some faculty out here too, and I'm sure quite many of you have had some mentoring experiences. And if anybody would like to share those or make a comment or ask us a question, we're happy to do that. So raise your hand if you would like to ask questions at this point. And pop something into the this form too, because Carolyn and I can probably keep an eye on that. Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't see anything. So, Carolyn, you want to talk about a coach, because I know you teach about this.
Sure. It is a type of mentor. The coach really is a professional, and they are experienced in helping somebody acquire specific work-related skills. So, and typically coaching has to do with leadership and management. The coach will use observation and how you interact and watch your skills, and then they provide objective, non-judgmental feedback on those behaviors and skills and give you some cues as to how to improve those. They ask questions to start creating some self-awareness of your behavior. And the coach has a set agenda that they've worked out with you in advance. And as I said, typically you see coaching in someone moves into a leadership role. And I think we talk a little bit later about things that you're going to want to look if you decide to go the coach route. So that's it.
Yeah, I just would have the reason we put this the topic of coaching here is, our cooperative learning community. We have mentors and PIs who may be moving into some new positions, and where I've seen coaches use this with people who are taking on, Carolyn, you said leadership positions, but like a new dean. And, this is so helpful to have somebody there at your side coaching you through this. Internships are huge responsibilities, and to have somebody, now we have more people who are nurses who are doing this kind of coaching, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. So I think we're going to talk here next about the roles of all, in some ways the advising, mentoring, and coaches are their roles, and they have some similarities. These roles can be formal or informal, and structured and ill-structured. And one thing that Carolyn and I, with the Sigma program, we're in a very structured, formal type of relationship, mentor-mentee, and we have specific goals that need to be accomplished. We have lines. Carolyn's working on a project that's helping her develop her leadership, and for which I'm mentoring her. So we have, kind of some structure and framework. But at the same time, we can have very informal roles, and I'll say, people will sometimes say to me, "Will you be my mentor?" And I'll say, "Sure. What do you need?" And it's, it's just maybe something for a very short time. They are, want a little bit up on something that they're doing, or they want me to keep an eye out on some grants that they are interested in the same topic where things are coming across my desk, and we really don't structure it too tightly. So we can have those, and then we have the some roles that really are focused on the needs of the organization. And I'll say at IU, we made sure that everybody who was on a clinical or tenure track when they were first appointed had both a research mentor and a teacher. And that really was more to be sure that we had everybody moving along toward, getting promoted and tenured, and that they made good transition into the organization and had somebody standing by. And this kind of relationships, they were kind. And we knew when I was the mentor, if mentee that was assigned to me, if he or she and I were going to get along, and our personalities and needs would mesh. But we worked within the context of the organization. So there's that, and then the roles too, where we're trying to be sure that we're helping people, along and meet the outcomes of the organization, meet their own personal outcomes. So these roles can, kind of be loose or very directed, and the member can be selected by you or be assigned by an organization. So I think that you can kind of see the picture there, different ways that this relationship can work. And Carol, can you help us differentiate these three roles?
Sure. We've talked about three different types of relationships: the advising, the mentoring, and the coaching relationship. And you can see, and from your experience, that advising is more or less a required relationship associated with academics. Mentoring has no specific agenda, and the mentor can be a sounding board for the mentee. Coaching, though, has a very specific agenda, and coach tries to direct the person towards a particular result. And you can see some of the other comparisons. And I think it really helps to know that advising, we really are looking at academic achievement, whereas mentoring, you can look at professional skills, but you also might look at personal skills. And it's a very sometimes informal mix of the two, where coaching is much more formal, contracted, and it looks strictly at work performance. And a big difference in in coaching as compared to mentoring and advising, that focus is on performance as opposed to the individual. And Diane, I'm going to turn it back to you then.
Okay, that sounds great. And so we've given a little more detail about these three roles. And now we're going to talk just a little bit more about the benefits and the intended outcomes here. And I'll start by talking about the outcomes advising, and of course, those are pretty forward. Again, the academic advisor, your outcome is going to be have an intact plan. And again, emphasize it's really your responsibility to be how you're doing and getting all the courses done, and that you're going to be graduating on the time frame that you've established, and that nothing is untoward is going to happen. And sometimes, as our students say, getting in and getting out are the two hardest parts of the program. And sometimes the getting out here is going back and looking at the program plan, and has everything been accomplished. And I would say most schools have some kind of a checklist. So you want to be sure that you're following that along and working with whoever your academic advisor is. So then the next outcome of an ideal advising situation in terms of the dissertation is that a quality dissertation is produced with minimal constraint to the student and to the advisor and to the committee. And with minimal, I'll say redos. Typically something gets messed up and has to be either written or the stats have to be rerun again. But if it's planned carefully and everybody's on board and communicating, the goal is to make this a happy situation, and then the dissertation advisor also turns into a mentor and can continue on helping you with your program of research. So that's just probably enough, because both you will experience both of these more or less required roles. But, from a mentee's perspective, what some of the outcomes that we can look forward to from being a mentor or a coach, and from the organization's perspective too?
The outcomes that you can expect as a mentor or a coach is that you get to be involved in what the institution that you work for, or what the profession that you're in. You get to be involved in what it looks like in the future, because you're helping to develop the next generation of people who will be there. And that can be a very satisfying thing, along with watching somebody on your mentorship grow and blossom and become a vital part of our profession. There's also the reciprocal opportunity for you to learn as you work with a mentee. And he knows everything. So even though you're the mentor, you can learn from your mentee, which is pretty exciting at times. And I think mentoring also keeps you fresh, because you're constantly looking at things from that beginning enthusiastic light that mentees often have. So mentoring can be a very satisfying career for yourself, and something that you can do to give back to your profession. Diane, I'm not sure if you have anything else to add to that.
No, I think I believe that everybody has a responsibility to be a mentor as well as a mentee, and probably the scholars are going to be more mentee role at the beginning, but then it's kind of, as you move through the organization, it's kind of a responsibility then to take on somebody else and help sustain both the career development and the professional development, and for the organization as well. So, I think that kind of covers it, and I'll move on to the next slide, which Carolyn talked
for the mentee. Oh, man. I'll tell you what. there's so much that we gain as being a mentee. Self-discovery. I think sometimes the mentor can see things in you that you didn't realize that you had, things that you're capable of accomplishing that maybe you didn't know you had in you. And so it becomes a self-discovery journey to be a mentee. Much more satisfaction. I think you're happier with your work, you're happier with your career when you have that mentor to work with. The mentor also can help you clarify your career goals. And sometimes after graduation, you think, oh my gosh, what a relief to be graduated and be done, but what's next? And the mentor can really help you focus and help you see what the next step is. And there is a next step. It's not like you graduate and that's it. There's something else out there. And career goals and how to advance your career is a very difficult thing to be involved in, and your mentor can help with that. And sometimes the mentor might have better vision because they've been that career longer than you have, and they have more insight, which also shows that those who are mentored are much more satisfied with their career, whether it's because of the decreased isolation that you see up there or the fact that they are more savvy in avoiding problems, and they do seem to transition better into their job. And it seems as though promotion and tenure does go a little bit smoother when you have a good mentor. So there's so many wonderful outcomes for the mentee, a good mentoring relationship.
Okay, should I?
Well, let's go, and how about if we take a look at what can happen for the organization? And if you listen to the outcomes for the mentee, then everything that's listed here makes sense. People who are mentored tend to stay in their role, and they tend to be more satisfied. So that translates into less turnover, which is a big issue for some organizations. You're more enthusiastic as mentee. That translates into increased productivity. So all of these things that you see listed make a lot of sense when you understand the benefits to the mentee. Institutions with strong mentoring programs are likely to have lower turnover than those without, and their workforce is much more highly motivated. And the jobs that are done are usually more skilled and they're more effective. And the mentor is much more productive in their role. So lots of really good outcomes for the organization as well.
Okay.
Do you have anything to add?
Well, one thing that kind of came to mind is the next time that we meet, we're going to do a career builder on how to interview for a tenure track or contract position. And one question that you ask is, what mentoring programs do you have in place, or how do you handle mentoring? So, because it's so important for the organization to have well-prepared faculty and who are making transitions and being carefully, because it's a huge investment in a faculty member once they're hired. Perfectly fair game for you to ask what resources are in place for mentoring. So that I would just add that little thought for those of you that are going to be job searching here in the near future. But
if I can just interject that in addition to having your mentor within the institution, going back to how many mentors should have, you may also want to consider a mentor outside of the institution that you enter into that relationship kind of on your own, because sometimes they have that outside opinion can be very valuable and easy to go to sometimes if you're having problems. So you may want two different mentors.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and actually that's how the Sigma Theta Tau mentoring program is structured. Mm-hmm. The participants need to select somebody outside of their organization, because I do think it's it changes to have another viewpoint, and also within the organization there may not be anybody who either has clicks with you, who is doing research similar to yours, using teaching strategies similar to yours. So order to get your goals met and your needs met, sometimes it's going to be essential to go outside of the organization. For sure, the coach comes from outside of the organization because they are there to help facilitate the person in the coaching relationship to performance. So, I agree, Carolyn. There's just lots of advantages to having somebody outside of the organization. And being a mentor, I kind of like that too, because then I can, give a different viewpoint and some feedback in a different way than I would if I had to tippy-toe into politics within the organization. So
Exactly.
So I think we can probably move on here. Okay, we're going to get down. Probably this is more the nitty-gritty kinds of things that everybody's waiting to hear. And again, we would really love to hear some comments or some feedback so we don't feel like we're just talking to the wall. So let us know if you have any questions or comments. And this is, choosing the advisors and the mentors. We're going to, give some tips on this, and then we're going to talk about the relationship. And these are the main points we want you to take home today. So I'll start, Carolyn, by talking about let's see, I think you probably can do this better than I can because you just recently did. And I'll kick in from a perspective in a minute.
That sounds
okay.
good. And this is such an important topic, and I think one that if you're just getting into choosing the dissertation advisor, you may understand the implications of what comes with that. Some of the things that you would to look at would be, first and foremost, I think, compatibility. It should be somebody that you are comfortable with, and you can get a sense of that just in talking to a potential dissertation advisor and just how smoothly that conversation goes and your outlook. It's also important if you know where you're strong and where you're weak, because you may choose somebody who can help you with those weaknesses. So maybe you're somebody that is very strict with deadlines, or you procrastinate, and you might then want to pair up with an advisor who is good at setting deadlines and make sure that things proceed smoothly. You just might want to be aware of those things. If you tend to be very anxious and nervous, then you might want somebody who's a little more calming and help you keep perspective on things. Make sure that you get the feeling that the person that you're going to select as your dissertation advisor is going to be able to provide moral support that you need, and only you can decide what is or how that's going to work. You all want to get a feel for how much time the potential advisor has to invest, because academic responsibilities or a high load of dissertation students may really decrease the amount of time that a particular advisor has available. And it actually happened to me that my first dissertation advisor was also the assistant dean, and her responsibilities just prohibited her from continuing on as my advisor, and I had to switch in the middle of the program. Luckily, it went smoothly, but you want to be aware that those things can happen. Topic may not be a perfect match. Your dissertation topic may not match exactly with your research expertise, but certainly experience and certain research techniques can be helpful. You also want to know how long, on average, it might take for their mentees to graduate, and did they obtain funding. And they would just be important things, and I guess all back to that sense of, do you feel like you could have a really good, honest relationship with this person? And that's critical. And if you want to go to the next one, we'll look at a mentor.
Yeah, okay. But before we can I just wanted to kind of give the perspective from being the dissertation advisor and what I look for. Somebody's coming to talk to me about being advisor. And, one thing I kind of like to, the first thing I want to know is what their topic is, and is it something that I can help them with? And sometimes it can be, pretty broad if they are very self-directed. So I would say when you're discussing this with a potential advisor, you want to present yourself as pretty organized and where you are in the process and how much work you've done. And if it looks to me like it's something I can just help and get it along, then I usually can say yes. And now that I'm looking for is a work style, and you would ask, how well meet time commitments, how persistent are you, what's your time frame that you would like to be graduating in, and how are you going to make this happen? And other thing is, I like to know, how are we going to communicate? And because what I have found is one of the most difficult things in maintaining a relationship is if there's gaps between where we're talking. If somebody sets their dissertation aside for 8 months, it's really hard for all of us to go back and pick it up. So I want to be sure that the person who's going to be working with me is going to keep forward momentum and can keep deadlines and can be persistent in contacting me. And, email for sure, phone, Skype, all those things work. It's usually going to be a relationship at a distance at this particular time. So I would, say when you're sending yourself to somebody to be considered, you're asking them to be your advisor, you can kind of look at them from this perspective and what they're looking for in somebody too, because everybody who's in the dissertation advisor wants to have a student who's going to go on and then get big grants and solve the problem. So nothing. Okay. So I think we're going to talk more about the choosing of the mentor, and I think probably this is even a little different a twist here. So
it's a little different than an advisor, and what you have to think about is, what are you going to accomplish with the mentor that you are not going to do on your own, and what will be your expectations of the mentor and the relationship. You do want to be careful that you look at personal qualities. You want to make sure that the person is a good listener and you feel like they're going to be with you, that they'll level with you and not just going to encourage you and pat you on the back, but give you real feedback, honest feedback that can help you grow. To do that in an encouraging manner, but you do want that honest feedback. And know your personality. You want to select a mentor that will complement your personality. And want to make sure that you pick a mentor that you can respect. I think that's a critical point. It's to be somebody that is effective in their role because you want to learn effective practices. So it's somebody that you can look at in that. And Diane, do you have anything that you want to add to that?
No, I think I'm going to maybe build a little bit in it or two, but I think that's great. And then kind of the same principles apply with choosing the Carolyn.
Right. A coach, because that is the coaching relationship is the contracted relationship. There's a fee involved in choosing a coach, as opposed to a mentor where they really are doing it out of the goodness of their heart. So because this is a contracted for-fee relationship, you want to be very clear about defining your objectives. You want to make sure that you and the coach agree on what's going to happen. And just like the mentor, you want to make sure that you feel like this person is a good listener, that they're going to really help you in perfect skills that you want to work on. Because it is a contracted relationship, you want everything spelled out as what the goals are, how much time that person will invest with you, how long that contract is going to last. You want to do your research in selecting a coach. What is their reputation? Are they certified? You can see that I have the ICF logo up there. And that's an important piece, because by choosing a certified coach, that they are going to adhere to certain professional practices and ethical guidelines. You know that you've got a good sense of rapport for them, and you want to make sure that they spell out the total cost of their services. And not unusual for coaches to ask for a commitment of 3 months. It's also frowned upon that a coach would want a long-term relationship where you pay in advance. So that are just some of the things that you would want to look for in a coaching relationship. And I think you had some a little add to that as far as looking for a coach.
And I have just noticed that there's 4 or 5, at least that I'm aware of, people who are serving in this coach. I am thinking that people who are in these senior leadership positions now are using these coaches, and where I've seen them is out at professional meetings. And also, I think there's probably a website out there too, but the coaches are actually out, networking and letting people know that they are now certified and are doing this. An example of coaching, one of a colleague that I know that is a certified coach was hired by a university to be a coach for a group of department chairs. So I think all of the organizations are beginning to see how really helpful it is to have somebody external helping the person perform effectively within the organization. And at the level within the organization, the more important it is to have this position. So I think even in searching for positions, to ask for some funding at the set to have a coach is kind of an accepted practice. So if those of you are contemplating or have just recently been hired into a senior level position, do consider this. And we're, like I said, trying to be sure that we're appealing to not only the scholars but to members and the PIs, because all of this really kind of goes back to leadership development, and there's people here to help you do that. Okay, are we there? I'll up and ask, do we have any comments or questions? Group of scholars, I see you all, and I know you're not shy. So we'll move ahead, and now we're going into this part of this session here. And I really hope that you'll ask some questions here, because what we're going to do in this session is to talk a little bit about the relationship, and then we're going to talk about the issues and how to manage the relationship. But here, let's kind of talk about the stages of the relationship. And I'll have to say, it was many years after I had both been a mentee and a mentor that I realized that there was, in fact, stages here. And, of course, going back and reflecting on it, it's intuitive. But I think now we're really trying to encourage people to be more mindful of each of these stages and to, start thinking through what will involve. And you can read here, the middle and the end. The more you can be clear about what you need from the mentor and how long you expect the relationship to be, and what kind of expectations of how much time, how often you want to meet, and all those kinds of things is critical. And then, there's the working phase of a relationship, and, lots of things happen in the Sigma Theta Tau program that Carolyn and I, and, we have set meetings, established goals, and we work her goals, and we help make sure that she's on target. And she has a project that she's working on, and pretty soon it's, she's going to be coming to the end of it, and we're going to need to be sure that everything's been accomplished, and it's going to end. And then at some point in time, when it does end, Carol and I are going to have to look at roles again, and typically I have somebody that I'm in that kind of a intensive relationship, mentoring relationship. We, end up being colleagues, and we move in a different role, but the relationship still continues. And I always, whenever I talk about mentoring, I like to talk about the relationship I had with Pam Jeffries, and I can even get a little, you can hear emotional I'm going to be. Many of you know Pam in her work with simulations, and she and I we are not bashful about talking about it. And whenever the topic comes up, she talks about me as being her mentor, and I talk about her as being my mentee. And why that relationship worked so well was because we had similar interests. This is just kind of a little case study of all the things that Carolyn and I have been talking to you about. We our interest in our teaching interests, we were interested in the same kinds of things. We had similar work styles, and when you could pass the ball to Pam, and she would catch it, and she would run and make a touchdown. And I would say, well, would you like to write an article with me or a group of people, and we'd have it done next week? And she'd say, sure, and she would get it done next week. So she could work fast and furious, which is how I like to work. We have a very similar philosophy in terms of how we related to students, what our work ethic was, how we wanted relationships within the school and all of that. So we just had ideas and approaches to how we worked, and that's what really made it work for us. I had known Pam, but the beginning of our relationship was when the school assigned me to be her mentor when she came back after receiving her doctoral degree. And she had goals. Some of them were established by the school. Some of them happened. We set expectations that I would help her move ahead. We did a lot of fun things together. We worked on grants. She got herself established. She got I remember there was places in the relationship where I could see something that was coming up that she could get involved in. I introduced her to people that she needed to know, and then pretty soon she was off flying and doing her own thing. And we really kind of for a mentor diminished, and now our colleagues, and we are of course still in touch, and relationship changes, but we sometimes she'll call and ask me a question, and I'll call and ask her a question. So that's kind of an example of how a really structured and more, I'll say, intense mentoring relationship can work. And the satisfaction for a mentor in a relationship like that is to see that somebody turns out Pam Jeffries. Everybody should turn out like Pam Jeffries. So there are. And Carolyn, I think, again, will how to be coached and be a mentee and so on. And
okay. I think that we've talked a little about all of these actions that you should be doing as a mentee in slides, and it's in that you do all of the things that you can see up there, setting goals and asking questions and going through, as Diane said, if something is tossed your way, you really need to follow through with that. And I'm going to emphasize that you need to take personal responsibility. That's a very key piece in a successful mentoring relationship, is when both parties take responsibility for their actions and making sure that you communicate clearly, honestly, and that you do follow through with everything. Communication skills are very important in a mentoring relationship, and understanding that it's not all about you, that it's about people, and get that concept through is a very good point. And realize that sometimes your mentor does have limitations. As Tim had mentioned earlier, if you are both from the same institution, then mentor does have to walk kind of a careful path and make sure that they stay consistent with institution policies. So don't expect your mentor to do or say things that are will not be professional, given the kinds of their responsibility. Not sure if you have other things. I know you're real big on make your mentor proud. That's your sentence in there, and I can just hear you saying it whenever I read that. That's very often your advice to me is just go make me proud.
No, that's the whole satisfaction for me to be a mentor, is that I can see the end results of in that I did the seed and then there's the flower. So I think it's a two-way street. As you've said, Carolyn, and you can't. There's kind of a payback or some satisfaction that the mentor has to have out of this too. Generally speaking, it's because the mentee is doing something that's really great and making progress toward their goals, and that's contributing to the profession, and that that because you've had them, that they can do it faster and better and make more impact. So I do think that's the bottom line of keep the mentor engaged in the relationship, is that you're always making the mentor proud. And I have to say, I was mentor for Pam Jeffries, and I have to say I'm mentor for Ellen Hart.
Okay, so if we move to the next slide.
Yeah, we can do that. And,
yeah. This can be painful, ending the relationship, and it can be painful for two reasons. One's because it's been so successful and you don't want to see it end, or unfortunately, it can be because it's painful and it needs to end. You just need to be aware that even the healthy mentoring relationships don't go indefinitely. At some point, everything ends. So it can be a formal, predictable end, such as the end of your dissertation, or it could be unplanned. And in either case, it can be difficult. So what you can do to help have a successful ending would be at the beginning of the relationship, set guidelines and ground rules for if the relationship would need to end. And it's getting to be more popular to have no-fault rules, in that if either partner in the relationship has to end, that there's just no fault. It's just okay to end. And I'll bring my example of my initial dissertation chair had to step down because of academic responsibilities, and that was not her fault, and it wasn't something she envisioned at the beginning of our relationship. But we worked with each other. She just said, listen, I don't have the time to invest in this. And the response was, yes, I've been noticing that. So it's okay, and we actually involved somebody else on the committee, and we had maybe 3 weeks of overlap just to get used to that transition. So I think it's important that you kind of watch for potential signals. So in my case, my mentor, or my dissertation chair, who was also a mentor, was reading my emails less frequently. I wasn't hearing from her as much. I just wasn't getting as much feedback as I had been previously. Subtle signs that there's a problem going on. And rather than taking that personally and thinking that you're doing something wrong, you just want to get in touch with your mentor and say, hey, is there something going on? Are you having a problem? Because oftentimes it's related to time constraints rather than a problem with the relationship. You want to be very careful that you don't antagonize anybody. So you just want to gently ask clarification of what you're noticing, get the reason for that. And it could be that it's a temporary problem, that the mentor thinks, just give me 2 more weeks and this project will be off my desk and we can get back to where things were. Or it might be, you know what, my responsibilities are piling up. I can't do that. We need to make a succession plan. So either way, you just want to make sure that you stay on the good side of your mentor, because you never know when you're going to need that person again. You also might be at the stage where you just don't have that sense of rapport with your mentor, or it's not working, or you don't feel like you're getting what you need out of the relationship. And then you have to as a professional and just say, I'm just having issues. You can phrase everything in terms of you rather than I statements, rather than telling the mentor what they're doing wrong, and then a more graceful way to back out of that relationship. So I think the important thing of ending the relationship is to start at the beginning by clarifying how you would handle to end, and then just honestly communicating with your mentor. Do you have anything to add?
Well, I'm just looking about, thinking of the mentoring relationships that I've, ended just because it's been, the relationship is finished, the tasks have been accomplished, and what really is nice is to be able to recall the strengths at the end. And I guess that's kind of what I was doing when I was talking about, I get mushy when I do that because I'm proud of her. But, there was many good things that happened, and when we get together, we go over, we talk about all the good things that happened in the relationship. And when that's a chance to talk about mentoring or a mentoring relationship, she will do the same thing. So I think even if it does end in a way that prematurely or not on the best of circumstances, there's always been strength, and the mentee wants to be sure that they're thanking the mentor for the time, because it's typically a huge investment of time that people are making on your behalf. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I think so. They come to an end one way or the other. So before we get into this little next section, which is where we'll talk about some of the issues, I don't know if there's questions or comments, and you guys have seen the slides ahead of time too. If there are any questions that you want or examples that you want to share, raise your hand. We would love to hear from you. I don't see, but hold on. We're going to try ahead. We have about 15 minutes left here, and I'll say 13, so I can wrap here. And this next section, Carolyn tried to think about all the it can come up, and I'll talk about these, and Carolyn's going to talk about the next batch of them. But we tried to frame this and what you should do when issues come up, and we want to emphasize that you are the one that's really in charge of this relationship. You are managing it. You're choosing a relationship. You're keeping it going. You're clarifying your goals. You're doing all the right things. And times things just turn out the way that you would like. And here are some things that can happen. And basically, the solution to most of this is to end it in the first place, to recognize it when it's happening, and then to be able to discuss and communicate. But there's going to be times when your mentor, advisor, or coach is not being helpful to you. And sometimes you can just bail yourself out by taking the bull by the horns and figuring it out yourself, or asking somebody else for some help. Bypass or do an end run around. We never want that, but sometimes you can move ahead without that. Otherwise, if it's just not working, to be able to say so and kind of have it come to an end in a nice, polite, professional way. And sometimes a mentor isn't helpful because they don't have enough time. Carolyn mentioned that. Sometimes, particularly if it's not a relationship that has been self-selected by the two parties, if it's something that's assigned, all those relationships fall because there's not a good match. And I think it's perfectly fine to say that that's the case. And from your perspective, you would want to move on and find somebody who will be more helpful to you. But I think when I'm assigned to somebody to be a mentor and I've never met them or know who they are, sometimes it's just not going to work, and I'm okay with that too for it to end. And another way that things can fall apart is you're moving forward, and the person that you've been your mentor can't help you anymore. Your goals either have changed. Maybe you were working with somebody because they were a research mentor, and maybe you've focused more on service, or maybe you've even changed jobs. So if your mentor isn't able to be ahead of you and be open doors, then this is not a useful relationship. And again, I think both parties understand something like that. And let's move on too. And one you could think about is maybe they'll be helpful to you in an entirely different way because they're outside of the organization, yet they still know it. And you may decide to retain the relationship, but if they're leaving and it seems like it's a good thing for the relationship, then that's another reason why it might end. There's going to be personality issues in all of these relationships too, and sometimes it's just not working, and you can do a happy ending of that. And then kind of along the same lines, things can be more harmful than are helpful, and it's recognizing the cues early on. But it's so I would say for the mentee to reflect on too why things are not be going right and what this relationship looks like for the eyes of the mentor. So mentors can kind of start disengaging from these relationships if they're tossing the balls and none of them are being caught. If there's this is my hardest thing was if there's gaps between communication times. If we set them times and then the mentee is canceling, I mean the mentor can be the one that's doing the canceling too, but the mentee can cancel. And then pretty soon we've had 4 and 6 months of gap in relationship, and that's just really not a good way to keep it. And sometimes, from the mentors, to your point, I may be the one that would be suggesting that we need to think through find out what's going on. That would be the first step, and then maybe the terminating would be a possibility. So there's some thought. Again, I'm going to say I'm going to flip here. I'll flip to the next slide. But while I'm doing that, and Carolyn's going to discuss the issues, I'd love to hear from you guys. You're not usually quiet either. We're just so totally fascinating. I guess I'll assume the positive. I don't want us to stop talking. Okay.
All right. Well, Diane has listed some of the things that happen when the relationship is not going well, and you can see some more things on the list. And what I'd like to talk about is, well, what do you do when these things happen? And it could be that your goals were already met. It could be that the focus of your dissertation changed, or it could be that your mentor just doesn't have expertise, as Diane talked about. So what do you do when that happens? Well, the way I see it, you have about 3 choices. You can sit and cry, but that's really not going to change anything. If it's an advising relationship, you can throw a temper tantrum and demand that your advisor be changed, and probably will get results, but are you going to burn bridges doing that? The best thing would be to take that ineffective dissertation advisor and turn them into a mentor, because everybody has thing that you can benefit from at that novice stage. By turning your advisor into a mentor and then maybe moving to someone else for the dissertation, you end up then with 2 people on your side, and that's the best possible solution. And the way that you do that is by living up to your end of the relationship and just using those open lines of communication and respecting that it might be time constraints rather than ineptitude on the part of the mentee. Make sure that you verbalize your appreciation. And this goes back to having some good closure when you end a relationship. And you need to kind of reflect on what you did learn and what the strengths of that relationship were, because even in a bad relationship, I tell you that there were strengths and that good things happened. And if you don't reflect on that and take the time to reflect on that, then you lose the value of what you could have gained from that relationship, even though it had to end. Ensure that you do vocalize that appreciation to your mentor, even when you're changing, and maybe not changing on the best of circumstances. That can also help keep that former advisor in the potential role as a mentor in the future, which is just so important. And I think that's all I had on that one.
Okay, great. And we have a question from Amelia. So you'll have to unmute your line, or I don't know if are you going to? Yes.
Well, you keep asking us for comment. Personally, I am so happy that you're doing this, because this is an area many of us have been asking questions. How do you find one? What's the relationship like? What are the expectations? I'm sure others are just listening in and really taking it in, just like myself. So it's not like we don't have any questions. You're really touching on every aspect that we had questions on. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say.
Oh, thank you for the nice reassurance.
Worried. And you said that you're not sure, like, how do you even approach, and I can tell you, it may be helpful if I just tell you how I approached Diane as far as being my mentor for Sigma. And it might be a strategy that works. I met her at a conference, and I was just so enthralled, and she's been one of my heroes for years without her even knowing that. But I used her books in teaching, and a lot of her articles. So I've had respect for her for years. And then when I met her in person, I was just so taken with her. And then just followed up that conference with an email, and I said, I'm looking at doing the Sigma leadership program and need a mentor. Would you suggest anybody? And I figured I couldn't lose. And she quite graciously volunteered to be my mentor, and I was just so grateful for that. But really, all you have to do is get out there, meet somebody who meets your requirements that we've discussed, and then you just ask. And you can ask in that non-threatening way. If they have the time, they may volunteer. If they don't think they have the time, then they're going to suggest somebody who may fill it very well. So you can't lose. All you have to do is approach someone. And
yeah, simple. And I'll just kind of score that, because making these cold calls, as hard as they may seem to be, often end up, this is something that really is going to work. And I've been asked to be a mentor, so it worked for me too. And I would have said if I had been too busy, or this particular requires some certain amount of time, so I would have said no if it wasn't going to. But I don't think you need to worry about making calls to people to serve these roles, and you will be faculty as you're going through your program, and if they look like there's somebody that you think you could work with or that you enjoy being with, feel free. And the same when you get into your work environment. If you see somebody, even if they're, that's the most respected faculty member, don't be shy about asking them anything. And this is the time I'm going to push us on to this next slide. I think, do I still have?
Diane, there's a question in the chat from Ola.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can find it here. Thank you for.
See me, Amelia.
Oh.
Yeah, and one of the drawbacks that I personally feel is when I see people, I kind of, in my head, I'm thinking about their schedule. They possibly don't have the time to take on my novice issues and stuff like that. But now I'm hearing you saying that it doesn't hurt to ask. They may make time for you.
That's right. And that was Amelia speaking, right? But I had a question too about the conflicts of a dissertation committee. And that's something that is hard to sleuth out, who work well with each other. And that's something that I would say to discuss with the chair, once that person has agreed to be your chair. And then you could say to them, these are the people that I'm thinking would be helpful to me, and say why, what you need them to be on your committee for, research expertise, for a topic, for connections, whatever. And then ask, is this going to work for the chair? And the politics in all schools, and when students come to me, who want, I can guide them. And it would say go with 3 or 4 or 5 people, 2 or 3 more than you need. What would be good for you, and then you don't have the person, the dissertation chair, being in the position of having to say, no, I don't like that one. But get some options, and then they can say, I think she'll be a good one, or he will be a good one to be on this committee, and it will, your needs will be met. But I'm going to go back here to this. This is the key slide in this presentation. You are in charge. So if conflicts do come up, even after you have chosen your dissertation committee, there is going to be some. That's life. You already know that. So you are the one that will have to kind of try to smooth anything out, work things out. Again, I think there may be termination of even membership on a committee. There's paperwork all that hassle to go through, and you'd have to weigh whether it's worth it or not. But if it's not working for you, then you need to take charge of the relationship. So I that helps, but I do realize that that's really a delicate one. Okay, all that helps. Quickly, so we can go off on when we're supposed to. Let's see. I'm going to. Do I have the ball again? Yeah, I do. I must have. All righty. Here we go. Just here are the points. All these people are essential to your career success, and kind of in this order. Once you've had your mentor, you might be already ready for a high-level administrative position, and you need a coach. Your boss, they're working for you. So keep working on your behalf, be active, and maintain your professionalism. So any questions, we'll take them here, but while you're thinking of them, getting your hands raised, remember that our next meeting is going to be November 28th to the 30th. Usually we're in October, but this year we're after Thanksgiving. We're going to be at the foundation office. We're going to do posters. I did that on the slide, but you got to have some really stiff posters now, because I know some of you, particularly those of you listening to archive here, have had some posters to present this week. And Carol, I just can't thank you enough. This is great fun. It was great to have two different perspectives here. I hope the participants like this. Yeah, kept us going and organized and got everybody there. And Papa, thank you for being with us today, and you did a fabulous job.
You are no longer muted.
Getting those balls bouncing in there like they do. So any last questions, comments? And if not, Carolyn and I have put our emails there, so you can contact us anytime that you would like.
And it's Jen Pulaski.
Yes. Hi.
I just want to thank you and Carol for a wonderful webinar. I think you guys were very thorough, and it was definitely meaningful for the scholars. And I just wanted to say to all the scholars, and I look forward to working with you and being part of these webinar series. I think they're very valuable for what everybody's doing.
Well, thanks. I'm glad to have you with us, and we're going to all look forward to being together face-to-face again.
Now muted.
So that'll be good.
Thank you.
Okay. So, last comments or words here to wrap up? Okay, if we can sign off, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Okay. Oh, Catherine. Catherine, are you still there?
I'm still here, Dr. Billings.
Do you have a question that I can answer quickly?
No, I just wanted to make a comment about the fact that, I think it's really important to keep our overall objective in mind always, despite any issues or conflicts that arise. And the overall aim is just to really believe in our work and to advance nursing science. To really just push through whatever you're working on, even if it's breaking new ground.
Yes, absolutely. And that is a way to frame this whole conversation here. It is about a picture of contributing evidence and strengthening the profession.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. A good all the doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. This just concluded the webinar for today, and you may disconnect the line. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.